broadcast. So do you see, you should see your visual right now. Do you see anything? Okay, yeah, this is actually, that's me.
That's you?
Yeah, that should be, is it?
Because I turned mine into presentation.
Nope, because I've got you there. So I don't have you logged into this at all.
Do you want me to sign out and go through it again?
Yeah, try that one last time. Sorry, I don't know.
No, you're fine.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's presentation. My name is Meredith Call, and I am the Director for Parent and Family Services. But more importantly, I'm joined today by Ashley Nayer. She is our Director for our Education Abroad program, and so she's going to be taking you through what it means for our students to be able to go abroad, and whether it's short-term or longer-term programs, how they go about that process, and just what that can kind of do for all of our students. Before we get going, though, I do want to kind of walk us through some basic things in regards to utilizing this particular, the information that how you use our online webinar system. So there's a quick few things I just want to walk you through. So first things first, you should see your screen itself should look like, if I can get my computer to work for me correctly today, should look similar to this right there, and it's gone. There we go. So a few things I want to just kind of highlight to you about how to actually use this particular system, so that way you can, you're using it correctly in case you have any questions or concerns about anything. So first thing you should see is at the top of your screen, you should see, there it is. This little thing up here at the top and then the view options. And so if you need to change your screen around or not have it be the full screen, you can do one of two things. Obviously, you can hit the escape and that will take you out. That particular message may go away at any point in time. So if you go up to the view options and click up there, there is an option for you to exit full screen so that you do have the availability to navigate through the system a little bit. The other thing to note is if you're having any challenges with the sound, there is the audio settings button right down here on the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Sometimes if these things go away while you're watching the webinar, all you have to do is move your mouse and these things should come back. These controls should pop back up again. But if you click on audio settings, you should get something that looks like this, where you can change your settings around for the sound factor. If for any reason, though, that still becomes a problem and you're not hearing us clearly, the last option is that you have the ability, when you registered for this webinar, a phone number came through as an ability to listen in. So you can watch it online and then listen via your phone audio as well. So that's just one thing to note. Throughout the presentation, we would love for you to be able to interact with us and share with us thoughts or questions that you may have. And there are a few different things down here at the bottom. The raise hand and the Q&A functions are the two that we're really going to focus on. The chat function is really not a one that gets utilized all that often and I'll show you why. Truthfully, so you have the option of raising your hand. I will say that truthfully that doesn't do much for us because all it does is let us know that you're kind of there. You don't immediately provide a question or anything along those lines, but it is an option that you can say that you can indicate. The best thing to use though is this Q&A button right over here. So when you click on the Q&A button, you'll actually get something like this that will pop up for you to then, and so when you enter a question here, it then comes immediately to us as the panelists on this side, as well as allowing others within the group to be able to see what your particular question is. So you type in your question, just hit enter. But then the part that's really nice about this, and this is why we like to use the Q&A function over the chat function, is that you may have a question that someone else in the presentation equally has, and sort of they have very similar interests. And so if there's a lot of questions that start to come through, we have the opportunity then to click this like button right here, this thumbs up button. And what that does, so if someone enters a question that you think you also have the same interest in, if you were to click that like button like this, when it will just indicate up is that you just hit the thumbs up button, and then the more people that we see this, what it does is it actually moves the question. If there's a lot of questions coming in, it moves it up higher in the queue, so we know that this is a question that is a lot of interest from our family members, and that we need to make sure that we are really answering, especially if that you're not having to try to repeat yourself. So that's a few things to know about this particular, like the functionalities of how to utilize this system. So please feel free at any point in time to enter any questions that you may have, and we will certainly do everything that we can to answer those or direct you to the correct place. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and share this, turn this presentation over to Ashley so that she is able to actually walk you through everything that is the Education Abroad program.
Well, welcome. My name is Ashley Nyer, and I am the Director of Education Abroad here at UAB, and I'm excited to talk with you today about the opportunities we have available for your students here at UAB and what they can do with their degrees. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so we always get the question of why study abroad. Many students will say, I have a lot to do, I can't focus on this. What is the benefit of studying abroad? So we're going to go ahead and start with that question. I always say, if not now, then when? When are they ever going to have the time to explore the world but also earn credit towards their degree? So that's what's really unique about an education abroad experience is they get to take a summer, a semester, a year-long opportunity and still earn credit towards their degree and graduate in the 4 years here at UAB while getting to have an experience of a lifetime and learning about a new culture. So that is kind of the very short answer, but we're going to go into more details of why every student at UAB should study abroad and what resources we have available for our students. So in addition to earning credit towards their degree, something that employers, the top 5 things that employers are looking for, one of those items is a study abroad experience on their resume. In addition to that, employers are also looking for internship opportunities, and through our Office of Education Abroad, we offer international internship opportunities. So students have the opportunity to take care of 2 of the top 5 things that employers are looking for by having an international experience with an internship or just to study abroad. And as you'll see here on this slide, that 73% of survey respondents strongly agree that their study abroad experience makes them more competitive in the job market. On the flip side, employers are looking for this as a skill that students have acquired during their time at a university because bachelor's degrees are becoming so common, what makes them stand out. And so making sure that your student has this international experience will really help them in the job market when their resume goes out to employers. So to get us started here today, I want to start with the different study abroad myths that we hear around campus and that are commonly discussed among friends and colleagues of why students can't study abroad, and we want to bust those myths today. So hopefully these are things that you've heard of, or maybe you and your student have had this discussion and we can kind of help overcome those myths today. So myth number 1 is I can't study abroad because my major is too complicated. While everybody here at UAB does have complicated majors and has requirements that they must fulfill in order to graduate, every major at UAB has the opportunity to study abroad. It's just a matter of planning ahead. If the student knows when they enter their first year or their second year that they want to study abroad, we can look and find their core curriculum classes to help them take those while they're abroad, or maybe it's adding a minor or taking major or minor electives. So I have a lot of students that go abroad who end up adding a minor in a foreign language because they can complete about 50% of their minor on a foreign language while they're abroad, or students who are taking core curriculum classes. For myself, when I studied abroad at another institution, I was a double major in accounting and administrative management. Went abroad my junior year, but because I planned it my first year, I was able to take core curriculum classes, major classes, and then elective classes. And so I had a mixture of different types of classes I could take, but I still graduated in 4 years with that double major. And so I think that's just a great example to show you that it doesn't matter what your student is doing here at UAB, we can work with them to help them find what works best in their degree plan to graduate in those 4 years while earning credit appropriately. So then myth number 2 is I can't study abroad unless I speak another language. Now, while we would love for every student to graduate from UAB with a fluency in a second language, we realize that is not going to happen because we all have different passions and interests. And so we have many programs in our portfolio that actually teach classes in English. I always think it's fun to talk with students and let them know that just because they're going to a country that doesn't speak English, their education system may actually be in English. So fun facts are that Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland all teach their academics in English. So does Ghana and Botswana. So those are different things that are available to our students that they can go somewhere that the general public does not speak English, but the academics are taught in English. Excuse me. In addition to this, many of our universities and countries that academics are taught in their home language, there are classes that are still taught in English. So in Italy and France, Costa Rica, and many other locations, even though the general core academics are taught in that language, there are courses designed specifically for study abroad students to take those courses taught in English. So maybe it is the science courses that we're looking for in English, or anthropology, or business, or medical classes. Those are all opportunities that are available to students. It's just an appropriate planning process. While they may be going to the UK to take classes, I always say it's good to know that while they speak English, it's not the same English, so they're still going to have an immersion opportunity. I learned that myself when I studied abroad in Scotland. Quickly learned that English was a completely different language there, and it took a few days to catch on to the accent and figure out exactly what they were talking about. But once I adjusted to that, I was able to excel. And so your student has the opportunity worldwide to figure out what fits them best. In addition, studying abroad is a great opportunity to learn a new language, whether it's another variation of English or it is an actual true alternate language. So I think it's important to add on here what students will be studying while they're abroad, because we hear students say, I can't go if I don't speak another language, it'll just waste a semester or waste a summer. But in reality, if the students are working with the Office of Education Abroad, they can take their core classes, they can take major or minor requirements and electives within their major or minor. They can add on those language classes. We have internships and service learning opportunities available for students that can really help them as well. And then research classes, and then Honors College also offers some opportunities for students. So if your student is in the Honors College, that's available as well. So we really want students and parents to know that just because they're studying abroad for a semester, it's not they're out there just taking classes to have fun. It's actually classes that count towards their academic requirements here, because we are very cognizant of keeping students on the 4-year graduation requirement that we want to see all of them achieve. So myth number 3 is that we hear studying abroad is too expensive and I can't afford it. I always challenge students to this question when they come up to me and say, I want to study abroad, but I just can't afford it. Studying abroad in actuality is just as affordable as attending UAB. Depends on the program the student chooses, but if the student is very cognizant of affordability, we will help them find programs that cost the same as UAB or even less than UAB. So I have programs available for students that are for a full semester for 15 credit hours of tuition, and their housing are going to cost about $7,000. The average cost of attendance for a semester at UAB is about $12,500. So there are programs that are costing less than the time here at UAB. We have other programs that if they want to be in the center of Paris attending the American School of Business, doing a fashion internship, those are going to cost just a little bit more of about $14,000. But we are very cognizant of keeping our programs affordable here at UAB, and so all of our programs on our portfolio are going to cost around the same as what it costs to be here at UAB. If your student is from out of state, then those program costs are going to be much more affordable and accessible to students. In addition to affordability, we work very closely with the students and with financial aid for students to use their financial aid package as long as they take the appropriate steps. And so that's something the students are able to maximize. And if the program does end up costing a little bit more than the cost of attendance at UAB, there's the capability to do a cost of attendance adjustment so there's more aid available to students. So that kind of just gives you a basic on studying abroad as affordable. But then we take it one step further. And with study abroad, we have scholarships. And a fun little fact is nationwide, only about 10% of graduating students participate in a study abroad opportunity. With that, that means these scholarships are very accessible to students who are actually applying for them. So if you think about that, at UAB, if only 10% are studying abroad, that is a very small portion of students going up for different scholarships. And at UAB alone, here for the 2019-2020 academic year, we will have over $30,000 in scholarships available for study abroad. And so that's a new initiative that's starting here at UAB for the 2020-2021 academic year. That number is going to almost double. And so that is really the university getting behind the accessibility for study abroad for UAB students, recognizing the capabilities and the need for students to have these experiences. So first, I encourage your students to look here at UAB for our scholarships because the applications are very simple. And then we broaden the search out to nationwide study abroad scholarships and then program-specific scholarships. So each program is going to have scholarships and then nationwide scholarships depending on different aspects of their financial aid package here at UAB, as well as where they're going and what their area of study will determine what scholarships they have available to them. If you happen to be a UAB employee and your student is using the tuition discount, there are specific programs that the students can use that tuition discount, and so they can talk to our office about that because that also helps with the affordability of studying abroad. Apologies there. So to get you kind of started on the basics, to talk with your student about the opportunities, now that we've busted the myths, I want to kind of move into what you need to know to get your student abroad. So who can study abroad? Basically, anyone that is a degree-seeking student at UAB can study abroad. Our basic requirements are a 2.5 GPA, 30 credit hours, including any transfer credit that they brought in. They need to be 19 years or older or have parental permission. They need to be in good disciplinary and financial standing. So we just run a disciplinary check to make sure that they are not on probation with the university. Other than that, each of our programs may have additional requirements, but this is the basic requirements here through UAB. In general, it's good for you to know the deadlines and dates. So for our summer programs and our fall programs, March 15th is our deadlines, and then for our spring programs, October 1st is the deadline. There are a few programs that vary off of these, but in general, these are a really good benchmark to work off of. We encourage your students to start planning 1 year in advance so that they have sufficient time to meet deadlines and to secure appropriate scholarships, because most of the scholarships are going to run around those same deadline times. So we want to make sure that they get both their application for study abroad complete and have time to work on the scholarship application. Where can students study abroad? That's a really good question we receive all of the time. The simple answer is anywhere. There's a more complicated answer, but we want our students to think big and broad to start off with. we want to challenge them to think outside of the box. While we want them to go to the UK and to Australia, we also want to challenge them to think of non-traditional locations such as Argentina, Dominican Republic, Norway, South Africa, Kenya, Thailand, China, whatever it may be. We likely have an opportunity available for the student. If we do not have something actively available in our portfolio, we will work with the student to ensure their safety and academic credentials for the location that they're wanting to travel to. So it is always an option. They have to work with our office to make it happen. So finally, kind of how do we get students started? That is always kind of the next step, and where do we prompt students to go? So getting started, we want our students to visit our website at educationabroad.uab.edu. This will give them a really good overview of the process and what programs are available. We then also have our peer ambassadors that are available. These are students who have recently returned from a study abroad experience that students can walk in and meet with at any time to ask questions, gather guidance on general program overviews, and figure out how to go through the process. Once they narrow down their options, they'll then meet with our Education Abroad advisor who can specifically advise them on their program and get them through the entire process. We also encourage our students to attend the Education Abroad Fair, which happens every semester. The next one will happen in mid-September, and then we'll have one next spring during the month of February. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on how to get your students started and where to go. But also, last but not least, as your student gets started, it's important that they have a passport, and our office actually has a passport service in it, which means we are a one-stop shop for your student in the study abroad process. And so we can help them get their passport process as well when they start going through the initial consideration process. So kind of at this time, I'm going to let Meredith tell us what questions we have and help answer those questions.
Wonderful. So at this point, again, I want to go ahead and open it up to Ashley's done a great job of giving you some broad overviews, but because the program is so marketable to every variation of student and can be customizable for all students, I want to be able to open it up for you to ask what questions you have related to your potential for your student to be able to study abroad or the opportunities that they have. And so while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I know, Ashley, can you talk a little bit about, I know that there are a variety of different times that students can, and links of times that students can go and study abroad. So what does that really kind of mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So students have the option to study abroad anywhere from 1 week to a full academic year. It's really up to them. And as you said, customizable. That is kind of the key in our office. It's customizable to what the student wants to do. And so if they're looking for just a week-long experience, we have programs that go over spring break, Thanksgiving break, winter break, etc. We have programs for an academic year. The longest I've had a student study abroad was a full calendar year and a half. So they were gone for a whole year and a half, and they earned credit towards their degree during those 4 full semesters that they were abroad. So it's really up to the students to determine what they want out of the experience, and we help them customize it and find the perfect situation for them.
Okay, so here are a couple questions that are coming in. So one is about, is it possible for students to use their presidential scholarship for a semester abroad? Are you familiar with that was particular?
Yeah, so great question. I always say that financial aid may be used for their time abroad, but I always want our students to specifically check with scholarships and financial aid about their specific award package to ensure that there is not some caveat in there that does not allow it to go. But in general, we have seen the presidential award go abroad with students as long as they're working with our office. But I always refer students back to financial aid.
Second of all, there's another one in here about, do you have any tips or advice for writing anything that's related to essays, for grants, scholarships, and things along those lines that the student should be really focusing on when they're creating those essays?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. For students that are working on essays for their scholarships for study abroad, I think it's key for them to focus on what they're wanting out of the experience and how they hope to use this for their future career goals. Students typically focus on, I can't wait for this to be a life-changing experience. It's going to be transformative. I've dreamt about this forever. I'm going to really immerse myself in the culture. And with study abroad scholarships, the people that are reading those scholarships are education abroad professionals. And we know all those little things are going to happen. But we want to see how they're thinking about this will affect their future and how they're planning their career path. And so focusing on those bigger goals are something that'll really stand out in the essays for scholarships.
Great tip there. I know, again, please feel free to ask any additional questions if you have. I know that there are also opportunities sometimes if there are scholarship abroad. We'll do two questions. One, when these things are coming back to campus or to go towards their major or their minor or whatever credit types towards graduation, let's just put it that way. How do those credits come back to campus?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So how the credits will transfer back to campus, first of all credits earned abroad will come back as letter grades. We will do a conversion scale from the host institution's grading system because they're vastly different. We will convert that to a U.S. grading system and post the letter grades according to that conversion scale. But then depending on the program, more programs will post as transfer credit just as if they had attended a community college during the summer to transfer credit or another institution and transfer to UAB. So most of them transfer as transfer credits. There are a few programs that are exchanges that will post as actual UAB credit. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And then lastly, the other question I know I have is, I know there are at times, for lack of better terms, private vendors that will help students to study abroad. How do you work with those groups, or what are your thoughts and/or variations as far as, especially related to UAB's process?
Absolutely. So with our programs, we have 3 affiliate providers that we work with actively that we have vetted for quality assurance with the academics, on-site assistance, and risk management. And so those are programs you'll actively find on our portfolio when you start exploring the website. These are providers that we trust and they help us facilitate the on-ground experience because our office would not be able to offer the 150 locations if it were not for these affiliate providers because each location takes a dedicated amount of time. And so with UAB, if it's an affiliate provider that we actively work with, everything tends to work pretty smoothly. We have processes set up to go back and forth between these affiliate providers and UAB. But if your student finds an experience that is with another affiliate provider we do not actively work with, or is a hosted institution that they just really want to attend because they have family in that location, or they know by attending this location, their graduate school or their PhD application is going to be viewed much higher, we will work with them to ensure that their processes are working between those different entities and that we will have an official transcript to transcribe back to UAB.
So another question that came in is, well, in continuation of this, I'm going to ask this question first, because does the courses, anything that's offered by affiliate, have to be approved by UAB prior to the student applying or going abroad, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. While we prefer that students get the courses approved prior to their departure, it is something we know that class schedules change and preferences change, and so students can work on that while they are abroad, but we do ask students to have the credit approval process taken care of before they return to UAB so that we can ensure a smooth and timely transfer of their credit once we get their transcript. It does take sometimes upwards of 2-3 months to get a transcript back from the host institutions, and so we want to make sure as soon as we get our hands on that transcript that it can post to UAB as quickly as possible so it does not negatively impact the student here at UAB.
Since the deadline is March 15th, can students still apply for a program this summer? And if so, what opportunities do you know of that are potentially available for the areas of film, art, or theater?
Absolutely. So even though our deadline is March 15th, students do have time to get into our office to work on summer programs. We absolutely encourage that, and we would love to work with the students. For film, what comes to my mind is we have programs. One program that comes to my mind is a program in London. Two of our providers actually work with the University of Roehampton, who has some film classes over the summer. But there are tons of opportunities available. I would say summer programs are in locations that do not speak English, a little bit more nuanced in culture and special topics. But then in countries that speak English, there will be specific classes available to students. And so working with our staff to come up with those, we can help identify exactly what would be available. The student just has to be dedicated over the next 20 days to get that application completed, but we can help them make that happen.
Well, I want to go ahead and still give, if you have any additional questions, feel free to send those in. But what are some of the top 3 takeaways that you're getting from students once they've returned back to campus as a result of their study abroad experience?
Yeah. So top 3 takeaways for students, I think we all know it's going to be a transformational experience, but they never understand how transformational it's going to be. I have seen students who are extremely introverted come back and be much more extroverted. You see them blossom and become an independent individual who now can navigate situations that beforehand they would have never have navigated before. Students come back with a much more defined career path. They understand what they really want to do once they have a study abroad experience. It's amazing when students go abroad, they're a theater major or they're a business major, but they really don't know what they want to do. And then they come back and they have a very clearly defined path of where they want to go and what they want to do. I myself was one of those. I went abroad as a business major, no clue, came back and knew that I wanted to work in the international education field because of my experience. And so I think those 2 are definitely takeaways. And then students having a broader understanding of world cultures and different viewpoints, because we know that our students are coming in with a certain viewpoint based on their experiences in life, and then when they go abroad, they see that others have different viewpoints based on their experiences in life, and how to merge those 2 identities together.
Those are some really helpful things. And at this point, I also know, just as a main pieces of detail, your office moved in recent months.
Yes.
So letting people know exactly where you're located now.
Yeah, absolutely. So our office is now located in the education building. So when you're talking to your student, the best directions to give them to come see us is they need to enter the education building from the Stern Library side. And they'll be able to find our offices right there. Our peer ambassadors are available Monday through Friday to take walk-in appointments. So anytime they're able to meet with those peer ambassadors to start the process. And then once they are ready to move into our full-time advisor, speaking with them, then we schedule appointments with that advisor for the students to have a dedicated 30-minute time to really sit down and talk about the specific details.
Seems to be everything that's come through. And so if there are other questions that come to mind after this presentation, please feel free to email the Office of Parent and Family Services, and we will happily communicate back with Ashley and anyone else and getting that information back to you so that you feel comfortable about this experience and where your student can go and all of the opportunities that it can lead to. I will also echo that I studied abroad for an academic semester, and it was, as Ashley was mentioning, it was one of those opportunities that you do come back so much more confident in yourself, because if you're able to navigate a country that is different than your own native one, and you're not immediately able to connect with your natural go-to for problem solving, and you're truly reliant on yourself, the ability to come back confident in those abilities is incredibly valuable. So I will always advocate for students to take this experience in whatever way that can look like for them and for whatever time period that can look like. But I just want to say thank you so much to Ashley for taking the time to do this webinar with us today. And if there is anything we can do to help our family members, please let us know. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the Wednesday. I apparently don't know what day of the week it is anymore. Have a wonderful rest of the Wednesday and have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.